What do you think?
I think we're dead meat. Real dead meat.
You're dead meat! Go ahead and laugh, you guys. If I ever find a little bastards that did this, they're dead meat.
Hey everybody, welcome back to What's Your Favorite Scary Movie, the series where I talk to people about their favorite scary movies. Joining me today is WWE referee Charles Robinson. Hey Charles.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Great, man. Great to have you on here because, I mean, right off the bat, it is clear that you are a huge horror fan.
What gives it away?
Yeah, maybe the screaming pinhead over your shoulder. So this is a room in your house, correct?
It is. I have a couple rooms like this. Bathrooms, a bedroom, and the downstairs man cave.
Is that where you're at currently?
That is where I'm at right now, yes.
I'm a little surprised to hear it extend to the bedroom because our apartment, we have one whole wall devoted to the horror stuff, but it stops at the bedroom. And I mean, both me and my fiance love horror. We talk about it. It's our jobs,
Right.
But the bedroom is just kind of its own thing. But what do you have in your bedroom?
Just some pictures and, signed photos, things like that.
When you were pitched to me as a potential guest, I was told that you were a big horror fan. Of course, I looked it up online, and there is a video on the WWE YouTube channel where you're giving a tour of this room that you're in.
It is. They came to my house a few years ago, and it's Charles Robinson's House of Horror.
Check this out.
If you haven't seen it, go check it out, please.
Yeah, absolutely. It is rare for me to find someone with a horror collection that puts mine to shame, but I would say that yours doesn't.
Well, I have a lot of stuff, but I do a lot of research, and I look at other people's rooms. And if mine puts yours to shame, there are those that put mine to shame.
Oh, God. Do you have 3 Michael Myers back there?
Yeah, I have 3. Yeah.
Are they different Michaels depending on the Halloween?
They are, actually. 2 of them came from Trick or Treat Studios, and another one I got from Costume Shop here in Charlotte.
Oh, man. That's so cool. I love it. I love that so much. Have you watched horror movies all your life, or did you come to them later on, or what sparked this love?
Gosh, man. Yeah, I was probably 9, 10 years old, watching the old midnight movies on Channel 3 here in Charlotte. We had a horror host, like a lot of cities did, and I just started watching the old Universal classics. One thing that I really liked, that really grabbed my attention, were the Hammer horror movies, especially the Christopher Lee Dracula movies.
Yeah.
Bela Lugosi did good, but Christopher Lee is the one that really, really scared me when I was a child.
Do you think it was because they were in color and more graphic than the old Universal versions?
Well, they were in color, and he had the big fangs and the blood and the bloodshot eyes. For a small child, that's pretty intense.
You said that your favorite horror movie, or at least one of your favorites, I understand that it's hard to pick.
Of course.
Yeah.
You can't pick one.
You can't pick one, but you chose An American Werewolf in London.
Absolutely. That's one of the very, very first werewolf movies, except for The Wolfman with Lon Chaney Jr. And I remember seeing Rick Baker, his makeup effects were out of this world and something that had never been done before.
I'm really excited to be talking about this movie with you because, as I was telling you before we started recording, this is one of those movies where it's a huge horror movie, it's kind of a landmark, but I haven't discussed it yet in any capacity on my channel. For me, it was a movie that I didn't actually watch growing up, even though I've been watching horror my whole life. For some reason, it just kind of fell through the cracks for me. Maybe because it was considered a horror comedy and younger me just wanted like the hardcore slashers.
Right.
But I didn't watch this movie until later in life. So yeah, it's not one that I'm like intimately familiar with, but I love it. I think it does such a good job of balancing the awesome horror, especially with those effects that you mentioned, and that humor that's a part of it.
Have you ever talked to a corpse? It's boring.
It's a movie that has really stood the test of time. I just watched it a couple weeks ago, and I still enjoyed it as much as I did when I watched it in 1981 in the movie theater.
That's so early on for the genre.
Yeah.
Obviously, horror goes back to the beginning of film, but it really blossomed in the 80s. And for this to be at the start of that decade and to have such complexity to it in terms of the tone and the genre and the makeup effects, I was really astounded that it was so early.
Right. I think it opened in August of 81. And The Howling beat it by just a few months. It came out, I believe, in April of 81.
Yeah.
So, you had 2 huge horror werewolf movies in 1981.
And they competing makeup artists, too, because it was Rick Baker, like you said, on American Werewolf. And then who did The Howling?
Rob Bottin.
Yes, from The Thing, which is my favorite horror movie.
Yes. In case you didn't know, I was going to ask you this later, but since you brought it up, Rick Baker was initially doing the makeup for The Howling. And then John Landis called him to do to American Werewolf in London.
Shit, and it's like, well, guess what, John? I started doing this other werewolf movie. And he goes, "You bastard! You son of a bitch!" He was calling him against names. This is for my movie. And I go, okay, I'll turn this show over to Rob, and I'll do American Werewolf.
It's a good get because there's a lot to love about this movie, but I think the thing that sticks with people the most is that initial transformation scene. It is so incredible.
David Dalton did a great job. He showed the pain of what a transformation is. He's moving around, not like the old Wolfman where Lon Chaney's laying there in one position. You have the dissolves into the next transformation. It was very, very realistic.
That must have blown people's minds, especially if they were used to that earlier transformation that you would see in the Universal movies, which, it's an inventive way to do it, especially with your technological limitations back then. To then see an American Werewolf in London where his hand is stretching out before his eyes and his mouth getting longer in real time on film.
Exactly. I know it blew my mind.
I mean, it's still impressive to look at today. Like you said, it holds up. I always love practical effects, and I think that a good practical effect will always hold up over even well-done CG because that might look dated in a decade, whereas this, 40 years later, still kicking ass.
I would much rather see a practical effect, done by, a Rick Baker or Tom Savini or someone like that than seeing something CGI. I like to go, hey, how do they do that? I don't want to say, okay, I know how they did it. It's computer animated.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's why I prefer it, is because when I can't figure out how it's fake, that's what impresses me.
It's a magic trick. It's an illusion.
You mentioned David Naughton. I love him in this movie. There aren't that many roles in general in film, but specifically in horror movies, where the male actor is asked to go nude for a scene. But here, David Naughton has at least 2, if not more, scenes where he's running around completely naked. And one, I think it's brave for any actor to do that, male or female, to get nude on screen. But it really adds to this movie's believability. Stuff like that allows it to be funny in those funny moments and still show that it's not pulling any of the punches when it comes to, yes, he's going to be naked when he's running around. He doesn't have like a loincloth left. Or yes, this gore that he's doing to these people is really intense and like the violence is intense. And I think that allows it to get a little silly sometimes because it'll bring you right back to the horror element.
From what I read, when he came out of the bushes to the elderly lady, they didn't tell her that he was going to be completely naked. So her reaction was pretty legit. And then you have the little boy with the balloons.
Oh my God.
You could never do that now. You could never do that now. Hey, kid, come over to the bushes. I'll pay you £1. What are you doing?
That kid is maybe my favorite part of the movie, just because he has the line where he's like, why would a thief want to give me £2? And then perhaps the best line of any movie is when he goes to his mom and he says, and a naked American stole my balloons.
Stole my balloons.
A naked American man stole my balloons.
What?
That was fantastic. I love that.
I love that you can even tell the kid is trying not to laugh in some of those shots. He's like starting to smile, but it's so funny.
Yeah, he has that little smirk on his face, doesn't he?
The humor of this movie, it's kind of all over the place because there's stuff like that, and then it kind of gets even a little absurdist. I'm thinking when they're in the porn theater and they're watching that porn, one, the fact that they're in a porn theater is pretty funny, but the fact that the movie they're watching has like this weird surrealness to it with the guy walking in being like, I thought I told you never to do anything like this again. And the other guy's like,
I'm not talking to you.
Like the first part of the joke is hilarious. And then the woman being like, I don't know you. And him just being like, oh, sorry.
What are you doing here? You promised never to do this kind of thing again.
I never promised you any such thing.
Not you Twitter.
I've never seen you before in my life.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know how you decide to put that kind of humor in a horror movie where earlier you have people getting torn apart by a werewolf.
I like horror movies that have a little bit of comedy in it. And I like the straightforward ones like Halloween and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre where it's nothing but violence. But like Dawn of the Dead, that's another one of my favorite movies. All the practical effects, just a great zombie movie. But it had a lot of humor. I mean, a pie fight. It just helps to bring it down. That way, when the scary parts come back, it just brings it back up and grabs you.
I think that's a real art form to making a horror movie, is the ebb and flow of having horror. You can't just have people on the edge of their seat the entire time, because then they'll start to kind of get used to it and desensitized. And when you break that up with humor, I think you're right. It's so effective to make the scares that much more impactful.
That was one of the problems that Landis had with the movie, because he had done, Blues Brothers and Animal House. So was this a comedy with horror, or was it a horror movie with comedy? Sometimes that's a very, very hard sell to do.
Yeah, I think sometimes people are a little, they're put off if they can't classify a movie in a specific box or genre. And I appreciate that even back then, he was willing to make a movie that straddled those lines and didn't feel pressured to make it more one or the other.
Oh, a gun would be good.
Yes, you just put the gun to your forehead and pull the trigger.
But if you put it in your mouth, you'd be sure not to miss. Thank you. You're all so thoughtful.
Maybe that affects how people look at it, but I think you get a more pure art form when you're not trying to stick it inside one box.
I agree with that 100%, James.
So we've already talked about some of our favorite lines, but do you have any specific favorite scenes or lines from the movie? I know it's hard to pick.
Oh, man. I like the scenes where Jack came back, and you have that progression where he's just real bloody, and then he starts to rot and decompose, and then finally at the movie theater, he's completely rotten. I really like the interaction between Jack and David. I think they had such great chemistry between the two.
Can I have a piece of toast?
Get the fuck out of here, Jack.
Thanks a lot. Your parents came to my funeral. I was surprised at how many people came.
Why should you be surprised? You were a very well-liked person.
Yeah, I was, wasn't I?
So any scene with those two together, especially after Jack was killed, primo to me.
It does such a good job establishing their friendship and chemistry in the first 10, maybe 15 minutes before Jack is killed. But in that short amount of time, you already know their friendship. You already get a sense for how they treat each other. And so it makes more sense when he's coming back that you already have a feel for this relationship.
You're not having a good time, are you? Oh, I don't know. I mean, look around. Isn't this a fun place?
The conditions that Jack tells to David Naughton, there's something that didn't really click with me the first time, but rewatching it again last night, it really stood out to me. The fact that David has to die to bring peace to his friend who is just stuck in the undead, and then later the other people he kills. And it puts this whole kind of like a ticking time bomb on the whole film, because you know that at some point for this all to get resolved, David has to die. And it just gives it such this tragic, this sadness to it, that for some reason I didn't really notice it the first time I was watching it. Maybe I was more focused on the transformation scenes, but that fact that like, David, you have to die for the sake of all of us, like that's so tragic and sad in this movie that is also really funny.
You've left my wife a widow and my children fatherless. Mr. Bringsley, I'm sorry. I have absolutely no idea what to say to you.
It's a tragic ending, The hero dies. Alex looks at him and goes, "I love you, David." And then you think he's going to calm down. Then he snarls and bam, 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 and he's dead. That's how the movie ends.
Yeah, like killing your main character. That's not a common thing. I could see another movie trying to find a loophole where it's like, "Oh, I love you," and through the power of love, they were saved.
Oh, be serious, would you?
One of the scenes that was really, really great was in the pub at the very beginning of the movie, and the dart player, he's throwing his darts. Too bad my camera's not 3D. That'd look cool, huh? And they ask what the star is on the wall, and he misses. And you remember that. He goes, "You made me miss."
You made me miss.
That's something that I've always remembered. No gore, nothing. Just one simple scene, and you know it was important because you made this guy playing darts completely miss the dartboard.
I love the people in that pub because they're so, suspicious of these outsiders. And then I find it really unique that after David and Jack leave, the movie sticks with the people in the pub, and you see what they're talking about even after our main characters have left, and you see their perspective, and they keep it kind of a mystery. I mean, the title of the movie mentions a werewolf, so you know what you're gonna get. But I always really appreciated that perspective. You see the townspeople's side and like the struggle that they have with allowing these people to go out and get killed.
Exactly.
Although I will say, everyone told them to stick to the road.
Keep off the moors. Stick to the road.
And then they just walk off the road. It's
they
like,
walk
guys, what are you
off the
doing?
road.
And stick to the road. Oops.
Hey, it was raining though. They got lost.
Yeah, I guess they got lost. Yeah.
Did you hear that?
I heard that.
I also love that sometimes in movies like this where you have, you know, the fun and games segment of the movie and then you'll veer off to a side plot that kind of moves the story along more. In this case, you have, I like to call him Detective Doctor because he's just the doctor, but he's going to like investigate what really happened. And I really love this just like skeptical doctor looking into it.
There's something wrong with this place.
That much I understand.
And he was trying to look out for David, which was great. And as you said, it gives you another avenue of the story to look at.
I also really love Jenny Agutter in the nurse role, the love interest role.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah, she's such like just what you picture when you think sophisticated British woman. Like there she is.
She had a real beauty about her, you know?
Mm-hmm. And her accent is just, it's so lovely.
Yes, it is.
Shall I be forced to feed you, Mr. Kessler?
I found it interesting though that her apartment is decked out with Disney stuff. I mean, the most obvious is that little Mickey where there's a close-up of it as though he's watching David transform, which is really funny.
Hi, David.
But she has like a bunch of Mickeys and other Disney stuff, and then she's wearing an NYU shirt at one point. Maybe that's to say, oh, that's why she's really into David, because I don't know, maybe she's into Americans.
She likes Americans, yeah.
American culture, man.
I'm not in the habit of bringing home stray young American men.
Well, I should hope not.
Another thing that I really enjoy about this movie is the soundtrack.
Oh, yeah. I just listened to it today. I got a Japanese copy about 3 weeks ago, and I listened to it today.
Are all the songs in Japanese then?
No. no.
Like Japanese cover of Blue Moon?
But, you know, I mean, they wanted to use a song by Cat Stevens, Moonshadow or something.
Yeah, Moonshadow.
That was supposed to be, I think, the opening theme, but he didn't want to do it because of whatever reason. One of the rumors was that he believed in werewolves. But who knows? But another thing was, you know, there's 3 versions of Blue Moon on there.
That's what I thought, because the one that plays at the end credits, I was like, is this a different version than what we heard earlier?
Yeah, you have, I think it's Bobby Vinton at the beginning, and then Sam Cooke is the transformation, and then the Marcells are at the end.
Okay.
And they wanted to use Bob Dylan's version.
Blue moon, you saw me standing alone.
Which I listened to, and I'd rather have Sam Cooke's. But Bob Dylan didn't want it to be associated with an R-rated movie.
All right, Charles. Well, what I like to do is have people quiz me about their favorite horror movies and see if they can stump me. And I have not gotten a perfect score yet among 3 questions being asked. So let's see. I feel disadvantaged here since I haven't covered this movie, so I haven't done research, but I'll do my best.
Well, I've already given a couple of the questions to you already.
Okay.
In the Piccadilly Circus.
Yes.
When there's all the chaos, a car hits a man and a woman, and they go flying through the window of a store. Who was the stuntman?
Oh, God. Who was the stuntman? Oh, man. That's so early on, too. I feel like the stuntmen I know are more from later in the 80s that I could, like, whip out a name. So I'm going to have to say I don't know.
It was John Landis.
What? The director?
Yes. The director did the stunt.
Does he have a background in stunts?
I guess a little bit. They let him do the stunt. And what was funny is he was supposed to go through balsa wood too, and he didn't even go through the balsa wood. If you watch it back, she goes through and he like hits the wood and falls through the glass.
Oh my God. That seems like a high risk thing to have the director, the guy in charge of your movie getting made, do a dangerous stunt. I've never heard of that. That's amazing.
I got a neat book that was called Beware of the Moon, The Making of an American Werewolf in London from Cult Screenings, and it has a lot of this great information in there. But you can't find the books. They're so expensive.
Oh, that's so cool.
When did John Landis write the script to An American Werewolf in London?
All right, well, I'm assuming it was at least some years prior because you mentioned how Rick Baker had said he wanted to do it. And so, that would have involved knowing of its existence a while back. So I'm going to have to take a stab in the dark here and say, 77?
Nope, 1969.
No way. What?
Yes, he was working on the set of Kelly's Heroes, and that's where he wrote the movie.
Wow, that is something to have a script in your back pocket for 12 years before it comes out.
All right, you're 0 for 2. So what was the name of the movie? I want you to get one right. So what's the name of the movie we're talking about?
Oh, that is the most pitiful handout of a question I've ever gotten, Charles.
All right, here's one.
Okay.
In the movie theater, Jack's puppet, because they couldn't use makeup, they had to use a puppet. Who operated the mouth of Jack?
I'm gonna have to just guess Rick Baker.
Nope, it was Griffin Dunn.
Oh, the actor himself.
The actor who played Jack, yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. Let's see here.
What, you just want me to get one right?
I do. When did John Landis first work with Rick Baker?
Oh, man. 77? I don't know.
1971 with Schlock.
Schlock?
The movie Schlock, yes.
I don't even know what Schlock is, man.
Look it up.
I will.
No one is safe from Schlock. 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 Schlock.
All right, here's an easy one. When Jack and David get out of the truck at the very beginning of the movie and they're walking, what girl is Jack talking about that he wants to meet up and have sex with?
Is it Kate something?
Debbie Klein.
We've known Debbie, what, since the 8th grade? How many years of foreplay is that?
Debbie Klein. Man, I'm sorry. I'm tapping out. I'm out for the count on this one, man. I can't keep getting humiliated here.
I thought these were easy.
Please blow the whistle. Ring the bell, man.
Do something. That's all I have.
Thankfully, good.
Jack, we better go.
Well, I got my ass kicked.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine, man.
I actually thought that we were going to go, because I know that you have a couple different series that you do, and one of them is the kill count. So I actually, when I went through, I looked up all of the kills.
Dude, while watching this movie, I haven't covered it yet, like I said, but I did have a mind out for like, all right, how many people die? And at first, it's easy to keep track of. But then you get to Piccadilly Circus, and you got the decapitation, which I love. The sound of that head bouncing across the hood of a car. Yeah, but then people are getting run over and slammed into buildings and going through glass.
You know, there were 4 guys in the movie theater with David. So those 4 guys got killed. And then the usher got killed, right? So, I mean, you don't see them on screen, but you know that they happen.
Did you get a final count? Can you help me when I cover this in the future?
I did, and I had a couple, like when he killed the deer in the dream sequence, I count that as a kill because he killed a deer and it's bloody and he's eating the deer. And then with the homeless men, there's 3 homeless men.
Yeah.
Well, their dog runs off first, so you have to say he got killed too. So if you count all that, I have 27 kills.
Thank you. I'll keep that in mind.
All right.
Does that count the Nazi werewolf dream scene that I can't believe we didn't talk about?
Yeah, you know, that's a great scene because, you know, the dad goes to the door, he opens the door, he's dead. Then the mom's dead. Then the brother's dead. Then the sister.
Kids. Yeah.
Then they cut David's throat.
It's insane.
And then you think the dream sequence is over.
Yep.
Alex opens the curtain and he's there and he stabs her. So
it's the old double dream sequence, man. It comes out of nowhere, and that scene is just insane. They even kick the Muppets in the TV.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
But yeah, I have 27, and I went through and I stopped for the Piccadilly Circus for all the chaos.
Yeah.
You know, the one guy gets thrown from the bus. That didn't kill him, but the car running over his head did.
He got so run over. And I'm glad that you went slow motion to go through and count the kills because now you know what I do for a living.
That's what you do. It's a lot of work. It takes time to do it.
Thank you.
It takes a lot of time.
Say it again for the people in the back.
Everyone, he worked so hard counting kills.
All right, well, Charles, thank you so much for joining me, man. This has been an honest-to-God pleasure talking to you about horror movies in your amazing horror-filmed room.
Well, thank you so much for having me here. And all these guys are saying hello to you.
There's so many more.
There's so much junk in here.
It's not junk, man.
There's the life-size Pennywise I got not too long ago.
I love that one.
I'm a big Rocky Horror Picture Show fan.
Yeah.
And here's the rest of the stuff here.
Oh, yes. All those life-size, man.
And I did tell you about the bathroom, so let's go in here. And the bloody walls.
Oh, that's great.
So that's what I do for a living.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. I really appreciate it. I respect that.
And, you know, I'd love to come back, talk about another movie, maybe Dawn of the Dead. I'm good friends with Tom Savini and a couple of his co-workers, and I just love the work that he's done through the years.
Yeah. Did you hook him up for the having him do the Bray Wyatt mask?
No, he did that all by himself.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
I mean, when we're in Pittsburgh, everybody wants Tom to come out. Everybody loves Tom. Tom's a great guy.
Dude, he could probably work out and put some of those guys to shame. I love his birthday pictures where he's like 70-something and he's all ripped.
I've never looked like that. I'll keep my shirt on.
Well, thanks again, Charles. This has been a pleasure, and it was awesome shooting this with you.
Well, James, thank you so much, and hopefully we'll talk again very soon.
Absolutely, man. Take care, and for everyone else watching, we'll have more of these coming up, so keep watching and be good people.